there, and welcome back. We're diving into some pretty cool stuff today. New home construction and real estate trends, all sparked by a recent episode of Real Estate Today.
Oh, nice.
So get ready for some surprising insights. We'll be talking about, the fact that homes are actually shrinking in size and what different generations are looking for in a house. Even meet a realtor who's doing some really amazing things in his community.
I think what we're seeing is a real shift in what people value in a home.
Yeah.
Like, it's not all about square footage anymore.
Yeah, and speaking of square footage, that's one of the things we wanted to dive into first.
Yeah.
The National Association of Home Builders, the NAHB, has been keeping track of some interesting data, and one of the big things that jumped out at us was the shrinking size of new homes.
Right.
And even the lots they're built on.
Yeah.
So why is this happening now?
Well, you could look at it from a few different angles, I think.
Okay.
Obviously, there's the economics of it all.
Right.
Home prices are high. Building materials have gotten way more expensive.
Yeah.
Labor costs are up. Interest rates have been climbing.
Yeah.
So you can see why smaller homes on smaller lots might be a way to address affordability.
Right. It's like the market adjusting to what people can actually afford.
Yeah.
But do you think there's more to it than just that?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, we're also seeing changes in lifestyle and how people think about their priorities. People working from home more, looking for efficient spaces.
Right.
And there's growing interest in denser living.
Yeah.
Especially among younger generations.
Okay.
And, this isn't about squeezing into smaller spaces. It's about rethinking how we use them.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that everyone wants a tiny house.
No.
But maybe it's just about, designing those spaces differently.
Right.
Having multi-use spaces, all that.
Yeah, exactly. And the NAHB research has highlighted some interesting generational differences in what people want. Well, take glass walls, for example.
Okay.
Millennials and Gen Z love them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're all about that open-airy feel, blurring the lines between indoors and outdoors.
Yeah.
But boomers and Gen X, not so much. They seem to prefer a more traditional approach with more defined spaces.
I kind of get that, actually. I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you said, all the different generations have kind of been shaped by the design trends of their times.
Right.
We're seeing open floor plans more popular with younger generations who grew up with that.
Yeah.
But then maybe folks who didn't grow up with that want a little more privacy.
Exactly.
What other kind of generational divides did you see in the research?
Well, prefabricated components are another one.
Okay.
Younger generations are much more open to them,
Oh, interesting.
It's seen as a way to build more efficiently, maybe reduce costs, and it could even be more environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
But older generations can be a little more skeptical.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, they might associate it with lower quality, which, may or may not be true.
Right.
But it's just that initial reaction, I think.
Yeah, it's like anything new, there's always that learning curve.
Right.
And getting over those preconceived notions.
Yeah.
But if it's done well, prefabrication could really be a game changer, couldn't it?
It could be huge. Yeah.
Okay, so then what about community amenities? Is that something that came up in the research too?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And this is where those pickleball courts come in.
Oh, okay.
You might think it's just like a niche thing.
Right.
But it's a really good example of how builders are trying to cater to certain lifestyles.
Okay.
Pickleball is huge right now, especially with younger buyers.
Yeah.
It's social, it's active, and it speaks to that sense of community people are looking for.
Yeah, so it's not just about the house itself, it's about what you can do around it.
Right.
And having those amenities right there could be a big selling point.
It could be.
Okay, so let's say you're ready to jump into the world of new construction.
Right.
What are some practical things to keep in mind?
Okay.
We talked to realtor Jeremy Lonstein,
Yeah.
who specializes in this area.
Mm-hmm.
He had some great advice.
What did he say?
Well, one thing he really emphasized was that while the housing market is super competitive overall, new construction might give you a bit of a break from all the crazy bidding wars.
Okay, so less stress.
Right.
That's good.
What about the actual building process, though?
Yeah.
How long does it take to go from, signing a contract to actually moving into your new home?
Well, Lonstein gave us a pretty good benchmark.
Okay.
A typical 5,000 square foot home takes about 6 months to build.
6 months.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You can often get a contract in place before they even start building.
Oh, wow. So you can kind of reserve your spot.
Exactly.
And then watch it all come together.
That's the idea.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. And then there's mortgages.
Right. Finance.
Yeah. Are there any special considerations when it comes to new construction?
That's a good question.
Well, large developers often have their own mortgage companies.
Okay.
So they might be able to offer better interest rates.
Oh, that makes sense.
But smaller builders might offer other incentives.
Okay.
Especially if the market starts to cool down.
So it's definitely worth comparing and looking into different options.
Definitely.
Lonstein also mentioned something interesting about landscaping.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically in Montgomery County, Maryland, where he works.
Okay.
He said the standard practice there is to just sod the lawn and do like a very basic landscaping package.
Oh, so like a blank canvas.
Yeah, basically. Which could actually be kind of nice for homeowners who want to really personalize their outdoor space.
That's true. You can get creative with it.
Yeah. But before we get carried away with landscaping dreams,
Okay.
Lonstein had one really important piece of advice that we wanted to highlight.
What's that?
He said, finding a reputable builder is absolutely paramount.
Oh, that's huge.
Why do you think that is?
Well, choosing the right builder can make or break your whole experience. You know,
Mm-hmm.
You want someone with a proven track record, solid references,
Yeah.
and a real commitment to quality construction.
Right.
Doing your research up front can save you so much hassle later.
So many headaches.
Yeah. Headaches, delays, potential problems down the road.
It's like with anything else. You want to go with someone you can trust.
Absolutely.
Someone who's going to treat your home like their own.
Exactly.
But speaking of trustworthy builders, it turns out Jeremy Lonstein is more than just a realtor.
Oh, really? What else does he do?
He's also known for his work with Kids in Need distributors.
Oh, wow.
It's a program that helps fight childhood hunger.
That's great.
He actually won a Good Neighbor Award for his efforts.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's really inspiring to see someone, so dedicated to giving back to their community.
It really is. So what's the story there?
Well, Lonstein saw a need and he decided to just do something about it. He realized that kids who rely on school meal programs often face a gap in support over the weekends.
Right?
So he started this program to provide weekend meals for children in need.
That's amazing.
And get this, it started with just 37 kids at one school.
Wow.
But through his determination and the community support,
yeah,
it grew to serve 3,000 kids across 33 schools.
That's incredible.
And what's even more heartwarming is that the program has now found a permanent home under the Manna Food Center.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So it's really ensuring that his legacy and the impact of this program will continue for years to come.
That's a beautiful story.
It really is. But let's shift gears for a second and talk about another trend that we've been seeing.
Okay.
Multi-generational homes.
Oh, yeah. Those are becoming more and more popular.
They are. What do you think is driving that trend?
Well, a few things. I mean, affordability is a big one.
Makes sense.
Pooling resources to buy a larger home can make it more attainable.
Right. Especially with the market being what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not just about finances.
Yeah.
Okay. We're also seeing this renewed emphasis on family support.
Yeah.
Whether it's caring for aging parents or helping with childcare.
It's like a built-in support system right there in your home.
Exactly.
So I can see why that would appeal to a lot of families.
Yeah. But designing a multi-generational home comes with its own set of considerations.
Right. Like what?
Well, it's not just about having enough bedrooms and bathrooms.
Okay.
You need to think about spaces that allow for togetherness, but also privacy.
So everyone's not on top of each other all the time.
Right. John Graham, who co-authored the book Under One Roof, had some good advice on this.
Like what?
He really stressed the importance of things like separate entrances.
Oh, okay.
Maybe even separate kitchenettes.
Oh, interesting.
To give each generation a sense of independence.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You want to avoid those, too close for comfort situations.
Right. And as families grow and change, flexibility becomes even more important.
Absolutely. And we talked about this a little bit before, but accessibility is another big factor.
Yeah, especially if you have aging family members living with you.
Right.
Features like first floor bedrooms and bathrooms, wide hallways, grab bars.
Yeah.
Those can make a huge difference.
It's about being mindful of everyone's needs, creating a space that really works for the whole family.
Exactly. And it goes back to that idea that, design isn't just about aesthetics.
Right.
It's about reflecting how we live and what's important to us.
While we're on the topic of changing trends,
yeah,
I'm curious about those Zoom rooms that became like a thing during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
Are they still popular now that more people are back in the office, at least part-time?
It's funny how that trend has evolved.
In what way?
Remember how everyone was trying to create those perfect backgrounds for video calls?
Yeah.
Well, now it seems like people are going for more authenticity.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like uncluttered bookshelves.
Yeah.
a few houseplants,
Yeah.
maybe even a glimpse of like a lived-in space.
Yeah.
It feels more genuine, less distracting.
It's almost like we all realize that it's okay to just be ourselves,
Right.
even in a professional setting.
It's a nice change.
It is. And I think it ties into that broader trend of embracing imperfection, moving away from those overly curated presentations.
Exactly.
Like authenticity is becoming something that people really value.
It seems like it.
Not just online, but also in the design of our homes.
It makes sense.
But speaking of authenticity, I can't help but think back to Jeremy Lonstein and his work with Kids in Need distributors.
Right.
His story really highlights the human element of all of this, you know?
I agree.
It's easy to get caught up in the trends and the market data,
Yeah.
but ultimately it's about creating spaces and communities that support people
Absolutely.
and foster a sense of belonging.
And I think that connects really nicely to some of the things we've been talking about. It really does.
Yep.
It puts things into perspective.
It does.
You know, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of new homes and what's trending
Yeah.
and the details of the market. But in the end, it's about creating spaces and communities that make people feel good.
Right. And that makes me think about all these generational shifts that we've been talking about. Like, how will those preferences evolve as millennials and Gen Z get older?
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, will they still be all about those open floor plans and glass walls? And they have families of their own.
Right. Or will their priorities change?
Right.
I mean, it's a good question. And it really shows how trends are always changing.
Yeah.
Influenced by so many things, you know, like
Right.
life stages, economic conditions, even cultural shifts.
Absolutely.
What's cool and modern today might be totally outdated tomorrow.
It's true.
It's like fashion. It goes in cycles.
And, you know, it's like how we were saying earlier about the pandemic accelerating some trends.
Right.
Makes you realize that even unexpected things can have a huge impact on how we live
For sure.
and what we want in a home.
Yeah, I mean, who would have predicted the whole Zoom room thing?
Right. Exactly.
That's crazy.
It is. And it just goes to show how adaptable people are.
We find ways to adjust to whatever comes our way.
Right. And sometimes even embrace the change, you know?
Totally. I mean, think about those prefabricated components we talked about.
Okay.
That might have been a hard sell a few years ago,
Yeah.
but now people are seeing it as a good solution
Right.
for efficient and sustainable construction.
It's like a whole shift in mindset.
Yeah.
We're starting to see the value in new approaches, especially when they help with things like affordability and environmental impact.
Absolutely. And that openness to new ideas is so important,
It is.
especially in a world that's always changing.
Right. We have to be willing to challenge what we think we know.
Right.
Look at things from different angles, maybe even step outside our comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah. To find solutions that work for everybody.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've talked about shrinking home sizes, the whole pickleball phenomenon, the popularity of multi-generational living,
Right.
and of course, how crucial it is to find a reputable builder.
Absolutely.
And through it all, we've seen how these trends are all connected in a way,
They are.
reflecting changes in demographics, the economy, and even our values as a society.
It's been a really interesting conversation.
It has, and it's so clear that the world of new home construction and real estate is just constantly changing.
Always evolving.
Yeah, it's not just about bricks and mortar. It's
Right.
about people and their lives, their dreams, you know, and their desire to create spaces that really reflect who they are and how they want to live.
It's about the human element.
And I think that's what makes this whole topic so fascinating.
I agree.
You know, it's more than just market trends and numbers.
Right.
It's about understanding the stories behind those trends.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that housing is more than just a place to live.
Right.
It's a basic human need. And how we approach it has a huge impact on our communities, our well-being,
Yeah.
and ultimately our future.
I love that as we wrap up this deep dive, I'd love for everyone listening to think about what role they might play in shaping the future of their own community.
That's a great point.
You know, what kind of housing options would you like to see? What are your priorities when it comes to design, sustainability, community living?
Even small actions can make a difference.
They can.
By being informed, getting involved, and sharing your thoughts,
Yeah.
you can help create a better housing landscape for everyone.
That's a great message to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into new home trends and real estate insights.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.